Content warning. On this podcast, we discuss sensitive issues, including but not limited to swearing, tasteless jokes, situations of a sexual nature, and drug use. This podcast is not intended for children. Welcome to Bibliowrecks, where we read the worst books the world has to offer. I'm Bugs.
And I'm gonna
Oh no.
I'm also Bambam.
Bambam, who is sad.
I'm very sad today.
What are we doing?
Because I read Wings of a Butterfly by Aidan Perry.
Wings of a Butterfly. That doesn't sound sad at the outgo.
It doesn't?
No.
This is, to date, this is the darkest book I've ever read.
Oh no. We're not doing Mylar Cat then. We're not doing cutesy, too sweet for our podcast. We're making our podcast follow its name.
Yeah. No, this is going to be another one in the realm of...
like, Eat Them Alive?
Eat Them Alive, yeah. I was like, Mantis book.
I thought you did really well.
Thank you.
In Eat Them Alive.
Yeah,
I like that I think you'll do okay with this.
Thank you. So, before I start, I'm going to give the trigger warnings for this book.
That are more specific than the ones at the beginning of every episode.
Mm-hmm. There's drug use, gaslighting, homophobic, harmful phrases, stalking, murder, suicide, dubious consent.
Ooh.
I don't remember what con is. Do you remember that one?
Is that a warning you have written down?
Well, it's the list of trigger warnings that the book came with when it was published.
Con. I don't know.
Editing Bam here. I think the source I was reading from at this point actually just misspelled non-con, which is non-consensual. So just be aware of that. But the rest of them are asphyxiation, CSA,
child sexual abuse,
taboo, and marking.
Great. So this has abuse toward a child.
Yep.
All right. Lots of abuse.
After some discussion between Bugs and myself, because I generally don't have like a very centrally driven point to most of the books that I pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty regular thing, which is just generally how I consume media. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get a little better with that.
Come at it with more analysis.
Right.
And more depth of thought, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is usually like my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, because my thing is usually just, oh, look at this awful thing. Isn't it so awful?
Right. And so now you pick the most awful, and that's what you're going to practice on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't a great idea, but...
Well, we'll see. All right.
So I'm going to start with, as best as I can sum up the central message of the book. If someone forces you to eat an ice cream filled with razor blades, and you happen to like the vanilla part of the experience, maybe that person isn't so bad. That's the philosophy of this book.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, maybe you can figure out where we're going from that.
No. The abuse wasn't all bad, so the abuser's not a bad person.
Oh boy.
No.
We're going to get into it. Number 2, another point that I saw flash up in this book. Mental illness means that even if they're the actual worst, you have to empathize with them.
Oh, no.
Even to your own detriment.
Like the Kanye West thing of, oh, he's mentally ill, so he can't actually be a Nazi. Mm-hmm. We have to forgive him for being outrageously gross and racist and anti-Semitic because, you know, he has a mental illness.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah,
God.
Yeah, it really does vibe like that a little bit.
All right.
So I heard about this book from a YouTube channel I like called Weirdo Book Club.
Mm-hmm.
She did her own review of the book, and her style is like way different from ours. So yeah, I feel like there's some value in doing it our way.
Right.
Her main fixation on this book was the queer representation of the book, because at the beginning of the book, it has a disclaimer. This book is for anyone who has ever questioned their sexuality. Now, that's
Oh.
paraphrasing a bit, but but I'm going to tell you that does not mean what you think it means.
So we might have to put a pin in that and come back to it at the
Yeah.
end and
I want to
establish.
come back to where that actually comes up in the story,
Right.
and I'll bring that back up.
Yeah, because that could go a couple different ways. So let's just go through the story and see which it is.
Whichever way you thought it was going to go, the worst one, it's that one.
Well, we'll go ahead and I'll have my little thing of it could either mean this is what being queer is and it's bad. This is you and you're gross and bad. Or it could be in the regular way of, oh, I wrote this as a tribute to my queer friends. Because those are like the two ways I think of when it's, this is for you, kid.
Okay. I'll go ahead and say it's not the first one. It's meant to sound like the second one, I think. But it's not. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, let's come back to that. That sounds like an interesting thread to pull.
So the prologue begins. We start in the mind of what the chapter calls Killer. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you who it is. His name is Alexander.
Right. So you can just keep track of who's who.
He is gleefully hunting through the woods for his escaped rape victim.
And we're in his head.
Yep, we are in his head. We are hearing his thoughts as he thinks them. This is our co-protagonist.
Lovely.
And the story makes a big deal about the scar on his left eye, I think. I think he got some kind of injury. It's really vague about it. He got some kind of injury in his eye, and his eye is permanently dilated. So like any kind of light or anything like is really sensitive.
Does he wear an eye patch?
He like tries to keep it covered, or he like wears a hood so people don't see it. It's not about the actual disability of having an injured eye. It's about the style of people looking at you when you have an injured eye. That's what this is about.
Okay.
I believe that's the reasoning behind, because other than one minor inconvenience, it never comes up as like any kind of a detriment, really.
Oh, because I would have actually expected that to be kind of a more serious thing than that.
Yeah, no, it's kind of just something to make him look mysterious, I guess. Is how
to be the emo kid with the hood and the hair over his eye.
There's so many emo vibes in this book. All right, moving on. Alex treats this game with the levity of someone doing a naughty prank.
This is giving me vibes from Game of Thrones. That one character who really enjoyed hunting women, raping them and hunting them.
Oh, is it the guy that flayed people?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of that.
Okay, so is that the character that he is like through the whole book?
He's got that kind of attitude, sort of.
All right.
Oh, I've got a quote here. Now, this is him thinking in his head as he's chasing this girl through the woods. I know you're out here, little girl. You can run, but I'll find you. You don't want to piss me off or I'll have to punish you again.
Ugh.
A laugh escapes my mouth. I'm pretty fucking hilarious sometimes.
Yeah.
And I struggled to find the funny part. Which part of that was a joke? Because none of that, after reading the entire book, none of that was a joke. He has like psychotic rages and he beats the shit out of people.
Is he like the Joker, like laughing when there's no joke?
I guess so.
Okay.
Or it's just he's crazy and...
Right. All right.
So part of his game is to give his victims a bit of free reign to see what they do. And ultimately his goal is to socially engineer a situation in which women won't run away from him.
Mindfuck and then do like Stockholm Syndrome.
Now, I've heard that Stockholm Syndrome isn't a real thing.
It's not real. It's actually called a trauma bond.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be playing with that concept a lot in this book.
Right.
He thinks it's so passé and boring and disappointing when they decide to run after he's kidnapped them. And
why are you running? I only kidnapped and raped you.
Yeah. So he catches her and smashes her face into a tree while she pleads for him to stop.
Ew.
And it's rough. He turns her face into hamburger and he thinks it's hilarious. And I don't like this at all.
This is the prologue or the first chapter?
This is the prologue.
Okay. This whole scene is in the prologue.
Yeah, this is setting the tone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to back off from that and go to chapter 1 and introduce our second protagonist, or our other co-protagonist. I think she's the main protagonist. I think that's
She's the main character?
Yeah.
Okay.
Skylar is a thick, curvy lesbian who, okay, the thick and curvy thing comes up. She's short, thick, and curvy, and it comes up a lot, actually. So how many times do you think a main character should be described in a book?
Like a couple times, unless it's relevant.
Like once, twice max, unless something changes. Nothing ever changes with her physical appearance. But it gets brought up that she's thick, short, and curvy 6 times in this very short book. Yeah.
Like they don't make this a plot point. It's just brought up over and over.
Yeah, just because that happens to be, maybe this book's demographic. I'm not sure. She's also a ginger, and that gets brought up a couple of times. And she's pale.
Okay.
And she is secretly in love with her roommate, Nikki. And she is regularly verbally abused by her dad, who is holding back her college tuition until she isn't gay, I think.
So she's out?
Everyone knows she's gay, but her dad doesn't approve because she hasn't even tried dick yet. She doesn't know what she likes.
Okay. Is her perspective that, like, the world's against her? Her dad hates her?
Yeah, her dad is against her.
Okay. And is she sympathetic? Like, we understand, okay, this stuff is really sucky and hard because you're being treated this way. Like, is she a sympathetic character?
Yeah, she's definitely sympathetic.
Okay. So it's not like, oh, he's in the right.
No, absolutely. Yeah, okay. It's not the story isn't framing it that way. It's framing her dad as the boomer asshole that just doesn't like the fact that she's a homosexual.
She's gay, right.
Yeah. So her friend is trying to console her over this, and she tells Skylar that she has tickets to a music festival in Memphis, which is local to them. They're in the Memphis area. Skylar doesn't initially want to go because she's very quiet and introverted, and the reader girl trope that's in a lot of romances. Because, generally, if it's a female protagonist in a romance book, she loves reading romances.
Oh.
Because that's generally the demographic, is women who read romances.
Right.
In these books. But Nikki more or less strong arms her into going.
All right.
In a friendly way.
Right. Like, you have to get out of this house. You have to stop sitting here moping.
Yeah, stop wearing the same pajamas 3 days in a row.
Which, when you have a friend who's in a funk, that can be effective. As long as you're not overdoing it or pushing too hard.
It's not totally negative or automatically negative.
Right.
So as they're leaving, Skylar thinks she sees a flashing light coming from her PC, like a flashing green light, but she doesn't see it happen again, so she thinks it's just a trick of the eye.
Okay.
It will come back to that.
Huh.
So they're leaving, and her friend Nikki drives a Volvo XC40.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that means either, but the story felt it important to bring up.
Okay.
In stories, do they usually just bring up it's a car, like it's a shitty car? Because usually if it's just a vehicle for them to get from point A to point B and there's nothing like particularly important,
they'll say just a pickup or a sedan.
So I think the only reason it gets brought up as to what is important about this vehicle is that it's a really high-end luxury vehicle,
which would imply that Nikki has
money.
A lot of money. Right.
Because I think Nikki has like an entire setup, a backstory for the next book. But it's not really important to the story. So,
right.
Skylar plays an artist called NF because it reflects the dark emotions that she feels. That is almost a direct quote. She's like, I'm listening to NF because I have these dark emotions. And that's just a weird way to frame that.
Is that like, I'm listening to Evanescence because I'm emo today?
Yeah, that's kind of what it comes off as. And I looked up NF. It's a emo rapper, I think, or something. Right. Yeah, I didn't listen to it because I don't care.
This seems like it has a lot of inconsequential details that are unnecessary and just there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you would know who that was.
No.
So,
NF, no.
yeah. Nikki gives Skylar LSD when they get to the concert.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does she know? Or she takes it? Or she...
Oh, yeah. It's like a planned thing. Like,
Gotcha.
She's not like
she doesn't give it
dosing
to her like doser. She's
Right.
like gives her some and she takes it.
And she like kind of gay baits her a little bit. I'm not sure if the character knows that she's doing that, but yeah, Skylar wants to like lick her fingers. Nikki like sticks her fingers in Skylar's mouth to give her the acid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's necessary, especially with your friend who is interested in women. And I feel like it's an unnecessary amount of gay baiting to your gay friend.
Right, because if you're not into them or interested in them, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's not the last time. As they're in line, they see Alexander. Of course, they don't know Alexander. He's just a creepy guy staring at them in line.
Right.
Nikki like gets defensive that he's staring so hard, so she starts making out with Skylar.
Okay.
To like make a claim, I guess.
But Nikki isn't gay.
Right.
Only Skylar is.
Yep.
But Nikki feels
I'm not sure if this is like protective or possessive. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what Nikki's, because we go into Nikki's mind a couple of times and she never thinks about it, but this fucks with Skylar.
Yeah, because, I mean, she's already on a trip
Mm-hmm.
or going on a trip.
Right.
And she's going on something that could be construed as a date. If it was a straight couple, a guy and a girl,
Right.
and they were
very
like...
easily can be.
It could be, yeah, so if it's two girls and one of them's gay, that could be very easily seen or thought to be a date. Add making out and sticking your finger in her mouth.
Yeah, so...
Poor Skylar.
Yeah, she is a very sympathetic character.
Aww.
So they go and enjoy the music for a little while until Skylar tells Nikki that she has to go to the bathroom. Nikki's like kind of just really having a good time on the LSD and like kind of just ignores her. Like I think she like hears her but doesn't really pay attention.
Right.
Skylar goes to the bathroom and goes to pee, and as she's coming out, she starts getting dizzy.
Ooh.
And that's when she sees Nikki walking up to her, and Nikki grabs her by the throat and starts very violently kissing her, or violence probably the wrong word, strongly kissing her. Aggressively, yeah, that's probably the better word. Roughly finger bangs her against the bathroom wall until Skylar has an orgasm and Nikki grabs a chloroform rag and knocks her out.
What?
Yeah, very confusing. So, chapter 2, we get all the same scenes except as from Alexander's perspective. There's nothing really...
Okay.
Yeah, nothing really added there except that Alex is incredibly creepy. And he has
Well, what does he see at the end of the chapter? Does he see those same things happen to...
Yes. So he sees the Nikki being a douchebag and kissing Skylar. And when Skylar goes to the bathroom, it's actually him walking up to Skylar, and Skylar is just hallucinating because of the drugs.
Okay.
Yeah, she sees Alexander, but she sees Alexander as Nikki.
In her head, it's Nikki. In reality, it's Alexander. That's what I was wondering, because it sounded like that's not something Nikki would do.
Right. So that whole thing is just establishing what was actually happening, and the fact that Alexander has a brother who talks in his head a lot. So basically the thing with the brother is it's very easily leading you to the thought that Alexander's brother is dead or just a hallucination himself.
Okay, Alex is hearing this voice in his head.
Right.
And the reader takes it as a hallucination.
Yeah,
because Alex is speaking to his dead brother as separate than himself.
He'll pop up like every now and then. He'll actually show up and Alexander will see him, but it's implied that he's not really there.
Gotcha.
So he knocks out Nikki in the bathroom, and then he just carries her out of the music festival and into the woods to where he's parked his truck on like a back road or a dirt road, and he like hears Nikki like yelling like far away.
Right.
So Nikki is looking for her, but doesn't see her being kidnapped.
Oh man.
Yeah. He puts her in the truck and like lays her head on his lap so it looks like she's just passed out. And this actually comes up because he gets pulled over like almost immediately.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And he does the old, oh, my girlfriend got drunk at the music festival and I'm the DD. And the cop just looks at his license and thinks, okay, this checks out. Just go get your taillight fixed or whatever.
Yeah.
Or slow down or something.
Kind of a classic story of he got away with it.
Yeah.
And she was so close to being rescued.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't happen.
Yeah,
because
really bums you out. Yeah, over and over again in his head, every time he thinks of Skylar, he's thinking, oh, I can't wait to get home and play with my new toy. Like several times.
Right. He actively sees people as things.
Mm-hmm. Especially women.
Right.
Or specifically women. So chapter 3, it's just the version of events from Nikki's perspective again. Nothing is really added except after she tries to go after Skylar. She calls someone who refuses to help before then calling the police. Which, yeah, in most romances or movies or something like that, wouldn't usually do. That for some reason that seems like that's not an option in movies and stuff.
Right, because she's doing the smart thing. She's saying, hey, I lost my friend.
Mm-hmm.
We were both high.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't tell them that because she's afraid that the cops will totally discount anything she says.
Right.
Because she's on drugs.
Yeah.
So that's all that chapter's for. So Skylar wakes up in chapter 4 with a hook in her butt.
Oh.
And then things go downhill from there. You know what won't make you wake up with a hook in your butt?
Oh, no. My God, you did it. Fuck you.
These ads and sponsors.
Hello, Biblio fans, friends, and fiends. Just taking a moment to tell you how to find our growing community. We're on Facebook and Instagram, where I try to post pretty often. And we have a subreddit that we will start using as soon as Bam gets over his crippling fear of Reddit. And of course our YouTube. Look us up at Bibliowrecks. We would love to hear suggestions and chat about bad books there, as well as over email, bibliowrecks@gmail.com. That's spelled BibliowRecks. Thank you for listening. Now let's get back to that bad book.
And we're hooked up and back.
No, we're not. This is so bad.
Boy.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, she wakes up in a cold concrete basement, tied up on a stool. And that's as detailed as I'm going to get about this scene, because it just gets real bad. So she gets raped by Alex. She has an orgasm and she's confused. And that's the part that I want to talk about a little bit.
Because, yeah, oh my God. Forced orgasm is a thing.
Yeah.
For men and women.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, she was a lesbian. It makes a weird point to point out that she was a virgin. She got both of her virginities taken here.
What does that, what?
The butt. She lost her butt virginity because of the hook. Yeah.
Why?
I don't. It's very upsetting.
So, in a lot of these kind of books, or a lot of books that I've read that were similar to this, they pan away. Mm-hmm. You hear screams, they pan away.
Oh, no.
This one is focused and detailed, and this is the point of the book.
Yeah. I don't know if this part was on purpose, but it's not totally uncommon for rape victims to experience an orgasm during an assault.
It happens.
Right.
Because that's one of those things you can't
It's just a bodily function. It just happens.
It just happens.
It doesn't mean that they liked it or that they're in any way implicit in the crime.
No.
And can lead to a lot of severe issues. And I know this because I watch a lot of SVU.
What's SVU?
Law and Order.
Okay.
Special Victims Unit.
Okay. I've watched an episode or two at one point.
It's a really good show. You should watch it.
Oh. I think I've seen it at a doctor's office. Like 10 minutes waiting for an appointment.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is the part where we get to the questioning your sexuality thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It doesn't get, yeah. She's not questioning whether she could be gay. Like, you know, you would usually, because that's generally most gay people's experiences.
Yeah.
You know, most people consider you starting off as straight and you question whether you're straight.
Okay.
But this is her starting off as gay and questioning whether she's straight. Because her dad was apparently right. She just needed a good dicking down.
Isn't it expressing that she's in pain? Because she would be in pain.
Yes, there's pain.
And she's enjoying that too?
Well, because she's never really had any kind of sex, I think.
Okay.
So her having any kind of orgasm is pretty much new to her.
So this is kind of similar to the 50 Shades of Grey episode.
Right.
Where she's a virgin and then she gets with this abusive guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, abuse like this must be what love is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because as far as I know, she really hasn't had like any sexual experiences before the events of the story.
Right.
So I'm to assume that. So I did want to bring that point up about the sexuality or her sexuality, because Weirdo Book Club made that a big part of her review.
Mm-hmm.
And as her being a queer woman, that's definitely more her place than mine. But
right.
I wanted to bring it up, but I didn't want to harp on it.
So it's just very extra harmful in this way.
Yeah.
Great.
So, after that whole thing happens, Skylar laments the loss of both her virginities.
Which people make a whole huge thing of, which it should have been with someone special, but that, oh my God. So we're throwing in a little dose of purity culture here too.
Mm-hmm. There is one thing I do want to bring up about the event. Alexander's dick is apparently big enough that his hand wrapped around it, his fingers don't touch.
Fucking hell.
It's girth. Either that or he has the tiny whopper hands.
Trump hands.
And I like to think that.
Yes.
So then the nasty bastard draws a butterfly out of blood and cum on her belly like a gross asshole. And then for the rest of the story, he calls her Butterfly.
Because he's just a dick.
Yeah, just nasty. Just gross.
Quick, clarification. Is the entire story just him owning her in this situation? Or does that part get over more quickly?
It's the vast majority of the story.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So then in chapter 5, first line is Alexander thinking, God, she's pretty when she cries.
Why are we in his head? Are we supposed to have any sympathy for him?
I think we're supposed to see him as this monster at the beginning, and then later as the story goes, empathize with him, which I don't really care what the story brings up about his horrible backstory. He could have been witness to 1,000 murdered puppies, and I don't think it's okay
No amount of victimization justifies him victimizing someone else like this.
Mm-hmm. So his thoughts continue. I almost wish I didn't cut off her breathing that first night so I could hear her make those whimpering noises over and over again. I don't know what it is about her. I want to consume every part of her. She even bleeds for me? And that was the one that got, what the fuck does that mean?
Like he's raping her and she's bleeding from
him? And I don't, you stab me and I bleed. What does that mean? Is that just him being crazy? I
think it's just him being crazy.
That's fucking weird.
I think where he has her objectified to such a degree that she's a toy, any reaction of any noise or any bodily function.
That adds a layer of realness to him?
Yes, here's a toy that's a doll. Oh, look, it went poo-poo in its diaper. It's more like a real baby. I think that's what's happening in his mind.
That's even...
Yeah, I think that's what
I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. I don't want to sit on that one too long. So Alexander's dead brother taunts him that she's going to leave him too, just like all the others.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Why would you want to leave someone who rapes you and tortures you?
Yeah. So now that he's been chastised by his brother, his dead brother, Alexander's going to do the whole love bomb thing, bathes her with Epsom salt and whatnot. And he also bathes with her, and that clingy.
He climbs in the bath with her?
Yeah.
Is she's not tied up, or
Nope.
she's just, he puts her in the bath and gets in with her?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess she's just like really scared and terrified of him?
She's in shock, I think.
Right.
Still.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. He gives her clothes before locking her back up in her room.
Mm-hmm.
And quote unquote notices her blushing, and then he thinks to himself, she's so embarrassed around me, like he
like this is a meet cute or some shit.
Like to him this is a meet cute. weird character.
God.
So puts Skylar back in her room, checks on his PC, and sees Nikki in her room, because that's what the green light was earlier.
He's recording in their apartment. So he's been stalking
Yeah.
Skylar for a while.
Yeah, because at first it makes it seem like, you know, she's just his latest victim, but later we'll find out that she's actually targeted for a very specific reason.
Great.
So he remarks to himself that the police probably weren't doing anything, and if Skylar had a more concerned father, they would probably take it more seriously. But that's what Mama is for.
Does she have a mom?
No, her mom died. And
okay.
we're led to think at this point that his mom is dead, but we don't know.
But the implication being her dad's an asshole who doesn't care, and
Right.
she doesn't have a mom who would care.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the next chapter is Skylar waking up, thinking how gentle he was afterward.
What?
And how I'm trying to.
This is
put
abuse
fairly.
apologetics.
Yeah.
This is
it
to
really
excuse his behavior.
Well, it's weird because later on in the story, she doubles back from this. Because right now she's thinking, oh, I don't understand why that was so hot, all that rape, is what she's thinking right now. She has to keeps talking herself out of quote unquote falling for this guy.
What the fuck?
And then she's just like, oh, but he seems so broken. Like, yeah, he's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant about the second part of the messaging in this book. Because she just keeps thinking, oh, he's so broken, he needs help. Like several times when she super should not. And it's bizarre.
It sounds like they didn't consider what this level of violence would actually do to a person in real life, and created their own fantasy of what it would be like.
Yeah.
And then built this response and character's behavior. It doesn't sound like it's realistic at all.
No. What I kept thinking as I was going through the story was someone did like a role play thing for like a weekend. And, you know,
it was
everybody
kinky
had
and fun.
Yeah, safe words, and it wasn't real.
Right.
And everybody could just turn it off when they wanted. And one of the people in the weird sex orgy decided, oh, I'm going to change some of the details of this event and make it seem real.
And then write about it and enjoy my fantasy that way.
Right. And that's what I kept thinking the whole time I was reading this. Like, this is just someone's tweaking of a regular sex situation, because anytime she gets assaulted by Alex, and then after he does the love bombing thing, she automatically changes over. She's like, oh, he's so caring. And it just comes off like really false to me.
So it almost seems like it's written as a fantasy of what Alex would want her to do in her head, which is not what you expect from a book where the victim is human.
Right.
This is almost making like, oh, I want a doll that I can rape and then she'll be fine with it. That is...
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of might be the demographic. I'm not sure. I don't know where this lands as far as like what demographic it's looking
this is aimed, like, who is this for? Who would it read this and enjoy it and not find it very problematic?
Yeah.
Because most people who are going to do purity culture wouldn't want to read something so gratuitous or explicit.
Yeah.
And then her appreciating her rapist.
Yeah. It's a weird specific fantasy.
Yeah. God.
So, Skylar leaves her room because she's not locked in.
Oh.
Yeah. earlier it felt like it was implying that she was like locked in a room, but no, he just puts her in a room and she's like, go to bed now. You're very tired after all that rape. So she goes upstairs because she hears Alex talking to himself. So she is like sneaking up the stairs and she hits like a really squeaky step.
Mm-hmm.
Alex hears it and grabs her by the hair and drags her back into her room and tells her never to go upstairs. And I think this time she's locked up. I'm not entirely sure. But as he's locking her up, she thinks she sees a figure somewhere in the background, but isn't sure. And eventually she later tells herself that she was just seeing things. So that chapter ends. Then we go to chapter 7, which is just Nikki talking to the cops, and then it's the scene where Alex sees her screaming on the bed, and this never matters. It was a waste of a chapter, and I don't know why it was brought up.
Wait, so that chapter switches to Nikki's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and then the following
back
one,
home.
Nikki's at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is Alex's perspective of what just happened between him and Skylar?
No. So earlier at the end of chapter 5, it was Alex looking on his computer. Then the next
looking at Nikki.
Right.
Okay.
See, I feel like that should have been in a different order. Like at the end of chapter 5, it should have been this chapter, chapter 7, where Nikki is talking to the cops, and it's actually the scene that Alex is watching on the computer.
Yes.
But it just jams in that situation where Skylar tries to go upstairs real quick and then gets drugged back down. So I feel like that was done poorly. So yeah, Nikki talks to the cops. They're useless and helpless, so they don't do anything. So chapter 8, Alex is acting erratic, like over the course of like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And this keeps Sky like on edge the entire time, which I feel like is part of the plan. But he's also ignoring her. Like he's acting like crazy, but not like paying any direct attention to her. And she starts like craving his attention because I think that's an actual like psychological thing and an abuse tactic. Not regarding someone or validating that they exist.
Right.
I think is a very specific kind of abuse. And I think it's planned by Alex. I don't know whether it was intended that way, but...
Interesting.
So she remarks on the clothes that barely fit her because they're his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And she again remarks on how short and curvy she is. And hashtag short and curvy problems. She thinks to herself, like, in this situation, hashtag short and curvy problems. And it takes me, like, right out. Yeah.
Wait, that was a quote?
That was a quote.
What the
hashtag
fuck?
short and curvy problems.
You have a lot of problems. Being short and curvy ain't one of them.
Right.
That is not a problem. Being locked in a rapist's basement, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Not being able to leave is a problem. Being abused is oh my.
So she asks, because she's got like a weird amount of freedom, like or just around the house, like just to like one floor of the house. And it's like a 3-story house. She's allowed to go to like the basement and the first floor, but she's never allowed to go upstairs. So
does she try to leave?
She's terrified that Alex is going to like, because Alex he said in the first chapter that he just leaves the door open or the door unlocked. So apparently she doesn't try.
Weird.
So she goes to Alex, asks him if she can go outside, and he says they can go together, and he like holds on to her like a toddler, and they go outside, and she like, you know, feels the breeze and stuff, and she like begs him to let her go, and he does.
Mm-hmm.
And then she thinks about running for a couple of seconds. And then she just takes off. And then we're in her head for a second. She remarks that she's free, like the butterfly Alex is always calling her. Then she wonders if he calls all of his rape victims that. Like she's jealous.
Like she's not a special victim.
Right. She's not the special butterfly because and she gets like weirdly jealous, and then she like catches herself. She's just like, why am I jealous?
Yeah.
So she trips over the rotting skull of the girl in the prologue.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And Alex catches her and sticks her face in the rotting skull. Kind of like you would a dog who's just shit on the carpet.
Yeah.
He like sticks her face in it, and she's like, are you ever going to leave me again? And he's like, no. And then he says, I was so afraid that I'd lost you. And then the chapter ends.
This is at way too short of a time period to actually build this level of mindfuck between them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a 3-hour-long book on the audiobook.
Right, but in days. They've been in this situation for a week.
Yeah.
A trauma bond doesn't usually occur that quickly.
This whole thing is incredibly rushed.
And she didn't know him beforehand. So many people get abused or assaulted by someone they already know. And there's a kind of a social thing of it's difficult to say no because you already want them to like you.
Yeah.
This is someone you already know. You respect them. You want them to think well of you. It's harder to say no or stop because you already have something invested in that relationship.
Yeah.
She has nothing invested and she wakes up being abused.
Yeah. Later on, she keeps trying to, though.
She keeps trying to leave?
She keeps trying to get invested.
Why? And see, look. When it's Christian Grey and he has the body of a god and he has $1 billion, there's a little bit more reason to understand, okay, I'm going to stick with this abusive asshole because he has $1 billion and he has the body of a god and I'm straight, who wants a guy, who wants the dick. This has none of those aspects to help you understand why she's doing this.
Yep. No, she's speed running.
Wait, this is worse than 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
What have you done?
This is so much worse. And it's about to get even worse.
Oh, no.
So, chapter 9, we're going to go into Alex's backstory.
Great. Because I care about this piece of shit.
Oh, boy. So, Alex was always psychologically disturbed, even as a kid. And gets him and his brother kicked out of school, so they have to be homeschooled. Him being such a terrible child is allegedly why his dad left. So it's just left him, his brother, and his mom. After a couple of years or something like that, his mom tries to move on and start dating other guys, and Alex hates this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you know where this is going, don't you?
No. Fucking hell. Oedipus complex? Fucking hell.
It's actually worse than you think, actually.
I don't know. I'm thinking pretty bad things.
It can get worse. I promise you. Okay, so she starts bringing new suitors to the house. Alex and his brother Josh start quote unquote pranking them. He puts some cat hair in one of the guy's food and he vomits and leaves. On another occasion, the guy's kind of mean to him whenever his mom's back's turned. So Alex does the logical thing and headbutts a sink and
claims that the guy hit him? Whoa.
Yeah.
So they're sabotaging their mom.
Right.
You know who won't smack your face into a sink?
It's not me. I will smack my face into a sink to get through the rest of this.
These sponsors. Hello, Biblio freaks, geeks, and lovers. Bugs here. We wanted to let you know about our option to follow us on Patreon. We have a couple of tiers where you can listen to our bad book, bad movie review. We read a bad book and then we watch its bad movie counterpart. In the past, we've done Eragon, Shadow Builder by Bram Stoker, and we have a lot of different things in the future. Please let us know if you have any suggestions for future bad book, bad movie combos, and let's get back to the podcast.
And we're back, and the sink is broken.
Everything is broken. My brain is broken. This week has been awful,
and we're making it worse.
Bad romance stories.
I'm so sick of romances. I will never
we're going to need a year. We'll do this again next Valentine's.
We're not doing another romance, which I think the way it's scheduled, the free hasn't come out yet at this point.
No, the free hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. It's funny because that one was the worst one I had read to that point, and it's coming out later. And for the listeners, that's what happens. That one's also bad, but not as bad as this one.
Yeah.
So, Alex and his brother has run off every one of his mother's suitors, so she eventually just stops dating altogether and is depressed. And one night, Alex and his mom are watching Nickelodeon. They're watching the show Victorious. I don't know anything about that show, but there's a girl that he finds attractive, and he gets an erection.
Lovely.
And his mom grabs that erection and sexually assaults him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I told you it wasn't going where you thought it was going.
Not quite, no.
So he's in shock, also already psychologically disturbed, and he doesn't give a shit about Victorious anymore. And from now on, he beats off to the thought of his mom grabbing his dick.
Great.
And that's his backstory for the purposes of this book.
We don't find out anything else about his childhood?
No,
like if that continues, or...
It's implied that other stuff has happened to him that is also awful, but we don't really ever find out about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's intended for you to learn more about it later in the next book.
Is there another book that's come out?
I don't know if it's already come out, because I don't intend to ever read it, ever.
Right.
So I didn't look it up, but...
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was very clearly...
They were setting up for a sequel.
Right.
Gotcha.
So Alex is remembering all these things, and he's getting drunk at his kitchen table, trying to silence his brother's voice until he beats his head against the table and passes out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of that chapter, thankfully.
Whew.
I was not looking forward to that chapter.
Yeah,
I tried to rush it as much as I could.
That is something else, man.
So, chapter 10, Skylar wakes up in the basement, and she's pissed because, she got knocked out again and put in the basement. Alex walks in, and Skylar remarks to herself that he looks like every villain that she's ever gotten off to. So, at this point, I'm starting to think that Skylar was not originally written to be gay.
Oh.
Yeah, because if he looks like people that she has pleasured herself to, then
that would imply that she likes broody dark men.
Or he looks very feminine.
Yeah.
But the story never says that, so that's a wild implication on my part, I think.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I don't know that she was ever actually intended to... I feel like that was slapped on poorly.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. Alex hangs her by the neck as punishment for trying to run away.
Ooh.
But right before she actually dies, he picks her up and she breaks emotionally, promising to never try to run away again. And then he rapes her again. She may or may not be consenting to this one. She thinks no, but tells him yes.
No, it's still coercive.
Yeah, no, it's definitely coerced. Mm-hmm. So I'm landing on no, for sure.
Right. But the book wants there to now be a gray area, or maybe she does want it.
Yeah.
God damn.
It's gross. It's fucking nasty. This book is so fucking nasty.
So bad.
So after that, he carries her up to his room, and she asks about his eye scar. And he says it's from a lost love.
His mom?
Maybe. I'm not sure. So then he's going to do his whole love bomb thing again, because that's the pattern here. He's going to punish and abuse her, and then love bomb, and then she's going to be like, well, I don't know what to think about it. Ugh. So he makes her like a pile of pancakes or something. Picks her a bouquet of delphiniums.
All right.
Do you know anything about delphiniums?
I know it's a flower. That's all I know about them, but they don't sound wild.
Okay.
They sound...
No, they're definitely a cultivated species.
Cultivated, yeah.
I was banking on you knowing about delphiniums, actually.
Do they have a meaning in the story?
Yeah. Well, they don't have like a
You could have asked Lily. She's into horticulture.
I didn't think to. And
what's the point of having a girlfriend who does horticulture?
Well, I didn't want to bother her with it. I had tried to get her to listen to this with me for like emotional support for me.
And she said no.
She got to the first rape scene and she was like, nope, I don't want to listen to this anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, I get that. Yeah.
Our Christmas kisses for $1 was very, very tame
and
sweet compared to
a very nice one. So yeah, I don't want to bother her with this one anymore.
Hmm.
Later on, the story tells us that that delphiniums are poisonous, and I don't know whether that's true or not.
And Google was too hard to read.
Yeah, I was just trying to rush through. I was taking notes, and I did not want to pause any more than I had to just get through this.
You keep talking. I'm going to look it up. Delphinias?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's DELPHIN.
Right.
IUMS.
Delphiniums.
So she remarks to herself that she could fall for him at this point, but she needs to know more about him.
Uh-huh. Yes,
Yeah.
they are toxic to humans and livestock.
Just like this relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. So Alex leaves her in his room and she goes snooping to satisfy her curiosity about him before she gives herself over to him totally, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So she finds Alex's birth certificate and finds out that Alex is her half-brother. They have the same dad, and that's why she was targeted. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh? Huh?
They're half
Wait.
sibling. Yeah.
What?
His dad that left
Uh-huh.
is her dad.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
He's raping his half-sister?
Yep.
And he knew this?
Yeah, no, it was intended. She was targeted. Yeah. That's what I meant earlier when I said that she was targeted and planned out ahead of time. That this is why he picked her. And he was like trying to keep this from her because she would have thought it was fucking gross, which it fucking is.
I quit the podcast. How much more of there is this? I can't do this.
We're getting there. There's not much more.
Okay, if you say so. I'm trusting you.
So Alex catches her. That's the end of the chapter. Chapter 11 is pretty much just Alex saying that he wants to break her face, and then him deciding to fill her in on his backstory.
Mm-hmm.
So he pretty much just gives her the lowdown. Sky empathizes with him and understands the dad thing exactly because he hates his dad and she also hates her dad, which is the same guy. So
at this point, I don't think the dad deserves all this hate. He seems like maybe the normalest person here and he's homophobic.
Yeah. He really is. Okay. So she decides to stay with Alex for some Herculean leap in logic that I just cannot. And they have gross incest rape sex while Alex brands her with a hot knife and marks her with an A for Alex. Yeah. Do you need a minute?
She's not running away screaming, finding out she was targeted. Like, that is so much worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And knowing this is incestual makes it worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she's fully aware of that. And at this point, it is making her consensual in this. It's so unrealistic. It's just dumb.
You'd think the cops, with this girl missing for a whole week, would have found the camera on the computer.
Yeah, in the story, the cops are just office guys that only come out if they really, really have to. So, yeah, even though Nikki did the smart thing and called the police, the story just refuses to let that matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Nikki is the only human-shaped character in this book, it seems.
That's only because we know her so little.
Right.
Only the characters that we don't look into or seem okay. So the next chapter is Alex thinking that everything is worked out and he's finally found love. So sweet. Alex's brother hallucination disagrees. Alex goes to the kitchen where Skylar is sitting next to a glass of whiskey, which he then just drinks.
Okay.
Yep.
That doesn't seem wise, but
No,
okay.
It shouldn't. Skylar asks him when he was going to tell her about the woman he's been torturing upstairs. We're about to get into it. It's doing a thing. The story is making you go, what's happening? And then the next chapter is going to tell you.
You know, Bam Bam, do you ever have those nightmares
I'm having it right now.
where
I'm
you're
having
in
one of
this
those.
bad situation? You're drowning in the ocean. And then that dream kind of like shifts into this other dream where you're actually being chewed up by a shark. And then you're actually in a mall and you're naked and your crush walks by. And that's the worst part of the dream. This book makes me wish I was having one of those nightmares right now. Because that would mean I'm at least getting sleep, resting my body, or unconscious.
Yeah, you're getting some benefit.
I hate you.
I hate me too. Okay, so he goes to grab her, and then he gets dizzy and falls, and chapter end. Chapter 14 goes back to when he was love bombing and feeding her and stuff. Back to the night of the backstory, she goes and snoops around again and goes upstairs, being mindful of the very squeaky plot step that she hit last time, makes it upstairs and gets to a room, and she immediately sees Alex there. And she's like, immediately like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just looking for you. And he's just like totally still. Very unlike Alex, because he's very energetic and moving and violent.
Right.
And it turns out it's just a mannequin.
Oh.
In Alex's clothes and made to look like Alex.
Creepy.
Even down to the scar. And it's just in the middle of this room. And that's when she hears someone say, help me.
Uh-huh.
A very weak voice.
It's his other half-sister.
Boy, I wish it was. I wish it was.
It's his mother?
Well, at this point, Skylar thinks that it's this mysterious ex-girlfriend who stabbed him in the eye or something.
Uh-huh. Oh, his lost love or whatever. Crap.
So that's where Skylar's mind is. So she goes into that room and she sees this woman, emaciated, dying, with her legs cut off, covered in maggots.
God.
And all the woman says is, kill me. So
Me
Skylar
too.
kills her.
Poor lady.
Yeah.
Me too.
Skylar grabs a pillow and smothers her, and she's racked with guilt. And this like kind of jolts her back to reality, and she's just like, oh, why have I been thinking all this stupid shit?
Well, that's good.
Yeah, this is the 180 moment. So yeah, this is apparently the last straw. She remembers that delphinium is poisonous because Nikki did like a class in school that she had with her.
Right.
And she remembers that delphinium is poisonous. So she puts it into a glass of whiskey and waits for Alex to show up.
Good job. Good plan.
Yeah. While she's doing this, she thinks of her prison as their room. And realizes how fucking crazy that sounds and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't mention the brother thing, but...
right.
Yeah, I'll take what I can
Small
get.
steps.
Yeah.
Okay. Good job.
Skylar feels guilty as Alex lays dying for some reason.
Well, I mean, murder can be hard, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard situation for her on top of all the other stuff that she's already experienced, so I won't minimize her for that. But yeah, she's only meant to knock him out, and I don't know how she's not a botanist. She doesn't know anything about like chemicals or stuff like that, so I don't know how she could have possibly intended that.
Maybe she thought it was like make you sick, not make you die sick.
Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, he's just convulsing on the floor, and she grabs his keys and runs outside. As she's running outside, she thinks about her outfit that hugs snugly on her curves.
Fucking hell, no. What the fuck?
She's just killed 2 people and has gained her freedom, and she thinks to herself that she's running out of this house and how tightly these clothes hug her curves.
I mean...
very funny.
I can kind of forgive you if you're in shock and that is like this random thing your brain goes to.
No, I think the story had just went 20 minutes without mentioning what she looked like and felt like they had to mention that this is in fact a short, curvy ginger girl.
Is she like described as ugly or pretty or attractive, unattractive? Like, does this matter to anyone?
Not really, no. Because I don't think Alex cared what she looked like. I think it was more about her just being a sister.
Good grief.
Like, it's mentioned that she thinks that Nikki is prettier than her, but it doesn't really, like, directly compare. Like, the only description that we get is that she's ginger, pale, short and curvy. That's pretty much it. So she gets in his truck and takes off, and she finds out that she's in Texas.
Wait, she was in Tennessee before?
Yeah, she was in Memphis, Tennessee.
Whoa.
And he kidnapped her and took her to Texas. So
wow.
that kind of explains why the Tennessee police couldn't find her.
Jeez.
She then, this really bothers me, she drives nonstop all the way back to her house
Why?
from Texas.
Why wouldn't you go to a hospital or the police?
Well, yeah, number one, that. But also, how big is this gas tank in this truck?
Right, she doesn't have money.
No.
She doesn't have anything else.
No, but on one tank of gas makes it from Texas, which you can drive across like multiple states in the time that you can get through half of Texas.
Yeah, Texas is huge.
Mhm. And then from there all the way to Tennessee.
Well, I mean, even driving like across Tennessee is really long.
So yeah, just unfathomable plot jump there.
Weird.
Which I think the author just probably didn't care.
Right.
Or it didn't
just
really
wanted to
matter.
skip. Just
Yeah.
skip.
So I don't know why he made it in Texas, or the author made the story happen, or made her be taken to Texas then. Like maybe a state over or something, because it wasn't like that big of a plot point that he took her so far away.
Maybe it matters in a different
Maybe.
book or later on or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But I just thought about this. It's weird later, and when I get to it, I'll tell you. So she finally gets back home, and Nikki is like fawning over her, and she's finally taking a minute to like dissociate.
Yeah.
And Nikki makes the bizarre decision not to call the police.
Or an ambulance.
Well, yet. Yeah, definitely should have called an ambulance, took her to a hospital, something. This part kills me. They wait till the next day to call the police because, ostensibly the reason is Skylar came in and told Nikki that she killed 2 people, and maybe they want to keep that from the police, but I'm pretty sure you could get away with that. There's reasonable evidence to know that Alex was a creep.
I doubt there would be evidence that proved she killed the woman upstairs anyway,
Right.
too.
Yeah, you could definitely push that off onto Alex anyway.
And then having a self-defense thing
Mm-hmm.
seems fairly straightforward there.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I mean, our legal system actually does lock up women who kill their abusers. So not outside the room, but also like if you're not going to tell the cops you're back, just don't tell them at all.
Mm. Well, yeah. So they wait until the next day to call the police, tell them that she was actually just with a boyfriend.
Okay, so they just go with lie.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Lie their ass off.
Okay.
She was with a boyfriend and she lost her phone and just didn't think to tell anyone that she was gone.
Gotcha. Which, I mean, the cops sound incompetent enough, and it was across state lines.
Oh, yeah, they don't push the issue.
So, yeah, I can see she just got away with it. As if there was something to get away with, but dealing with the legal ramifications of being in that situation and then...
Yeah, I can understand like not wanting to go into another stressful legal situation after this whole thing, but it would probably be the responsible thing for Nikki to push her to do.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying that they chose the responsible way. I could just say that this is probably the more reasonable reaction out of all the reactions in this frickin' book.
Yeah. In a sea of stupid decision making, this is somewhat
at least more
reasonable.
Understandable. Weird though.
Yep.
Really weird.
So,
because her DNA will be on that crime scene.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll find 2 dead people.
Right. Well, so Skylar goes to bed and Nikki is like trying to comfort her. She goes to bed. But at some point, Nikki leaves. And Alex comes back. And it turns out, according to Alex, and I don't know if this is true either, that unless the delphiniums are fresh, they're not toxic enough to kill someone. I don't know whether that's
So he wasn't really dead?
Yeah, no. He just had like a seizure.
Oh my... Oh...
He comes back, he's threatening her, and then he immediately gets stabbed in the back by Nikki and dies.
Well, that makes their whole legal logic backwards now because she already lied to the cops. Oh, no.
But don't worry, the story never brings up cops again. Nikki stabs him in the back, and for some reason she's wearing a trench coat now. And I feel like that's just more plot stuff that's meant for the next book. And it's just weird. It's just weird. I don't know why she would be wearing a trench coat. I don't care either. Time passes. They start going back to classes. They're trying their best to normalize again, which they, of course they can't.
Right.
And then Skylar takes a pregnancy test. And she finds out she's pregnant.
Hell.
Yeah. But she starts getting Alex's voice in her head. And he says, "You'll never be able to leave me." And she says, "Fuck you," and grabs a pair of scissors.
What?
Yeah. So she cuts into herself and presumably cuts out the baby or like traumatically aborts or something.
Wow.
And she kind of just wakes up in a mental ward.
Right.
And she hears her doctor's voice talking to her, and she thinks it sounds so familiar. And then she looks, and it's Alex's face sans Scar.
Twin brother.
It's his twin brother, Josh, who apparently isn't dead. So I don't know whether the whole time in Alex's house, whether he was hallucinating or what it was. But apparently, Alex's brother Josh moved relatively local to Tennessee to be a mental health professional in order to be within the sphere of Skylar's landing. I don't know.
The author just doesn't care.
No, of course
They
not.
just wanted a gotcha.
Yeah. No, they wanted to set up the next book in which the doctor is going to be not only a rapist and unprofessional, but another brother to fuck his sister. I don't care anymore. Woohoo!
Yeah,
that's the end of the book.
Worst. You win.
Yep.
This is the worst. End of the podcast, everybody. Love you. See you never. Bye. Wow.
Oh, boy.
This was dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did my absolute best to try to inform you ahead of time that this was going to be bad.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and just grade this. It's buried under the jail. This is fucking criminal.
This is go straight to jail. No, do not pass go. Do not claim $200.
You owe me $200. Go to jail. You have to pay a fine now for writing this.
And this is not, I don't know who this is for.
I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds on the internet. And I'm not one to kink shame, but I don't think
this is kink.
Yeah.
I think this is beyond that.
No, this is just fucking nasty.
This is messed up. Wow.
So yeah, fuck you, fuck Aiden Perry, and fuck this story.
Did you look up anything about the author? They were making a sequel, obviously.
I didn't want to. It's just gross, and I don't want to give them any more attention than I already have.
Gotcha.
And it's just disgusting. And I'm glad it's over. I'm glad this is done.
Wow.
Happy Valentine's Day, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is the week of bad romance. Join the Patreon so you can listen to 50 Shades of Grey and our sweet innocence of how bad we thought that was.
Yeah.
Because we were like, oh,
Better
this is so
times.
bad. Me. That's what I sound like.
That's what I sound like.
It's kind of hard, like, raising the bar, because we'll read stuff and we're like, God, this is bad. And then the next week it's like, oh, this was bad. And then you hit a week like this and it's like, nope, this is the worst.
Yeah.
Everything else will be light and fluffy and unicorns and puppy dogs compared to this.
So also this month we're going to do a special on another book I've prepared, and hopefully it's gonna help us recalibrate after this motherfucker.
It's gonna be a little bit more light and fun.
Yeah, it's just gonna be stupid. It's fine. I'm so glad to have a stupid one.
Gracious me. Well, thank you? ?
No, don't thank me. I've done this. I'm the assaulter now.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, everybody, maybe, for getting through this. Or, people probably just shut this off halfway through.
I don't blame them.
I don't think anyone is still listening. If you are the heroes of today's story.
Yep, and I'm the villain. And please like, comment, do all the social stuff. Let us know what you want us to read so I don't have to make terrible decisions anymore.
Yeah, no.
Because this is what I do when I'm left to my own devices.
Maybe you need to be, I'm going to give you a pre-approved list going forward. You've lost the rights to pick the book. You've lost author choosing privileges.
But thanks, listeners. We love you. Bye.
Bye. That was a doozy.